Today we're going to continue on with the equation of a circle with a little bit of review, and then we'll talk about how to find out if a point is on the circle. So just a quick recap from our last lesson. The equation of a circle, we take our center, HK, and R is our radius. So we take our center here, HK, and we flip the sign. So if H is a positive, we make it minus. If H is negative, we'll make it plus. And same thing with K. So it's X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared equals R squared. And the minus here just means that we're changing the sign. So whatever the sign is here, we're changing it there. So just a quick review. If we have our center and our radius, to write the equation, we can write out the bare bones of our equation first. And we leave a space in our x in parentheses squared, and we leave a space beside y inside parentheses squared. And then we're going to take our center and we're going to flip the sign. So I have a negative 4 here for my x value. So beside x, I'm going to flip that and make it plus 4. With a positive 9, I'm going to flip that and make it minus 9 here beside y. And then I need to take my radius and square it. So here, r is 3, so the radius squared is 3 squared, or 9. So that's what I'm going to put on the other side of my equal sign. We'll start out the same way for number 2. We'll write out the bare bones of our equation. We are going to take our center, negative 3, for x. So that's going to become plus 3 beside x. Positive 5 is our y value, so that's going to become minus 5 beside y. And then I see diameter. That's our dirty word. We don't want to use diameter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to radius by dividing it by 2. So our diameter was 10 divided by 2. That gives us 5. Then I remember the other side of the equal sign is r squared. So I need to square r. So 5 squared, or 25. Now, to take the equation and find the center, radius, and diameter, for the center, we're doing the same thing backwards. Either in or out of the equation, you're changing the sign. So beside x, I have a positive 5, which means that my x value in the center is going to be a negative 5. Here, I've got nothing beside y. Nothing is 0, so that's going to be my y value. Now, I remember that on the other side of the equal sign, that's r squared. So, I know r squared is 100. To undo a square, I need to do the square root. The square root of 100 is 10. The diameter is twice the length of the radius, so I take 2 times the radius, or 2 times 10, and that gives me 20. So, moving on to finding a point on the circle. How we're going to do this is write out the equation. We're going to graph the circle on Desmos, and then we can check those points. So let's try one. Circle P has a center at negative 3, 4, and has a radius of 4 units. Which point lies on the circle P? So we're going to write out our equation. Bare bones of the equation first. My x value at the center is a negative 3, so I'm going to make that a plus 3 right here beside x. Y is positive 4. I make it minus 4 beside y. Radius is 4 units, so I want the radius squared. So 4 squared, or 16, is going to go on the other side of that equal sign. Now, I'm going to bring up Desmos. And in that first box, I'm going to type in this equation that I found. And I'm also going to put in the center, because when I put in the center, that shows me that I got the equation correct. So that gives me just an extra way of double checking my work here. Now, I can put my answer choices into Desmos, and I'm going to click label to label those points. Here we see that only one of those points, negative 3, 0, is on the circle. If I look at the others, negative 3, 4 is on top of the center, negative 1, 3 is inside the circle, and 2, 5 is outside the circle. So only this one is on the circle itself. So negative 3, 0, or answer choice C, is my answer. Let's try another one. Just like before, we're going to write out our equation first, and then we're going to graph the circle in Desmos and check our points. Circle M has a center at M11 and has a diameter of 12 units. Oh, there's our dirty word. We're going to have to do something about that one in a minute. Which point lies on circle M? So let's write our equation. I put in the basis for my equation first. The x value is 1, so I put a minus 1 beside x. The y value is also 1, so I put a minus 1 beside y as well. Now, I'm going to take that diameter, that's our dirty word, and I'm going to change it to radius. So, radius is the diameter divided by 2. In this case, 12 over 2, so that gives me 6. So for r squared, it's 6 squared, or 36. It's going to go on the other side of my equal sign here. I'm going to bring up Desmos in a new window. And then in the first box here, I'm going to type out the equation I wrote. And I'm also going to put the center of my circle to make sure I got it right. My answer choices here, I put in another box and I click label. And that brings up my points here. And you look, we've got only 3 here. This 13,1 is way off to the other side. So we actually don't even see that one. But I see the whole circle, so I see enough that I need. So 13,1 doesn't have a chance of being on that circle. It's way outside of it. I have 1, 1, which is on top of the center. 2, negative 2, which is inside the circle. And my only point on the circle is negative 5, 1. So A is the answer choice I'd pick here. What about finding all points on the circle? So we'll often be asked to select all points on the circle instead of just one. So we're going to have to check them all pretty carefully, but we're still going to do it the same way. Here we've got the equation, so I don't have to write it out. I'm just going to bring up Desmos and put that equation here in my first box. And then I'm going to put all of these points here in the boxes. So since we've got so many, I'm going to use 2 boxes to write them all down. And I'm going to click label on both. And that brings up all of my points here. So 14, 0, that's right here. That is on the circle. So that one looks pretty good. And 5, 9 is on the circle. So I have 2 of these on the circle. If I look at the others, 9, 6 is inside the circle. 5, 0 is inside the circle. That looks like it's our center. And negative 5, 0 is here, but it's really close to the circle, but it's not on the circle. So that doesn't count. So we only have 2 answer choices, 5, 9, and 14, 0. All right, one more example today. Sometimes you might be asked to plot the center and 1 point on the circle. And when it says integral coordinates, we're looking for not a decimal, not a fraction. So let's find our center first. So beside x is nothing. So our x value at the center is going to be 0. Beside y is plus 2, so our y value is going to be negative 2. So I can plot that point here on the circle at 0, negative 2. So there's our center. Now we need 1 point with integral coordinates that lies on the circle. The way we can do this is figure out what this radius is and count out from the center. So here, I know my radius squared is 49. To undo it, I take the square root of 49, which is 7. So from my center point, I can count in any direction. I can go up, I can go down, I can go left, I can go right. It does not matter. So I'm going to count out 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's where I'm going to put my point, and that's at 7, negative 2. So that is another point on the circle. I could have gone up, I could have gone left, I could have gone down. And as long as I went 7 in any of those directions along the grid lines, I'm going to land on a point on the circle. So we count along grid lines only. Another way you could do this is to plot it in Desmos. So I'd write out my equation in my first box here. And I'm going to find my center, which 0, -2, and I'm going to plot that as well to make sure that I have that right, and I do. Then what I can do is I can actually put my mouse on the circle, and as I do that, it's going to give me some points. So as I move my mouse around the circle, it gives me those points, and it will let me know when I land on integer points. So we had -7, -2 would be 1. And we could continue scrolling along until we found another one. 7, -2, that's the one we graphed. So Desmos will let you trace along the circle to find those other points. All right, guys, that's all for today. Let's practice some.